Everybody, video here for you today. This is a request video. Just doing this over some coffee. I'll get this uploaded a little later today. We are going to go back to ancient America. And speaking of ancient America, I might have a little announcement right after the first of the year. Somebody's very interested in my work here, my thoroughness, being able to put my own story together on what happened here. Maybe in about 7 weeks, a little announcement that might take this out of a part-time thing for me for a little while at least. Let's go down to Santee Indian Mound and Fort Watson site right down here in South Carolina. Here's a site right down here. This has a couple different periods of history we will talk about. One that has nothing to do with the mound builders, but right down here is the largest mound in this region. It's right down here, right on the edge of the water down here. Pretty impressive, and this was used as a lookout. Here's a look from the water at the pretty good size Santee Indian Mound, as it is called. This place was established as a national wildlife refuge in 1941. Here's a look from ground level at this pretty good sized mound here with the staircase going up. The history on this place, a little confusing. Here on this website, it says it might be between 800 and 500 years ago when this thing was constructed. Here on this website, it says located in the Santee National Wildlife Refuge, the Santee Indian Mound is one of several prehistoric Indian mounds in South Carolina. According to the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, it is thought to be around 3,500 years old. So we have about a 2,700-year window when they think this place could have been built. If I was to write this, I'd word it a little differently. I'd try to get to some real answers here and just instead of just putting out these guesses. Here's a look at the mound from right next to it. There's a lot of vegetation growing on it here, but that is a good-sized mound right next to the water there. I will leave a couple links below, but here they go back in the woods somewhere near the Santee Indian Mound, and this appears to be a lost mound or some sort of earthwork, back, covered up, lost to history here. Here's the historical marker at the site, and I've talked about some of these mounds being used in the Civil War period. It says South Carolina, Fort Watson, the first post in South Carolina retaken from the British. The stockade fort on this old Indian mound had controlled the road from Charleston to Camden, as well as the Santee River. On April 15, 1781, General Francis Marion and Lieutenant Colonel Henry Lee encircled it with troops, while Major Hezekiah Mahan built a log tower whose fire could command it. On April 23, the Americans undermined the works and forced its surrender, and that was a little hard to read. Sorry about that. Here's an old pic on top of the mound, Fort Watson. Great lookout from on top of this, what they call an Indian mound. I would call it a mound builder's mound, that is for sure. How old do I think this mound is? Well, I think it's older than 500 years old, certainly. Is it 3,500 years old? I don't think it's that old. Maybe 1,500 years old. That's my best guess, maybe. The marker says Fort Watson, one of the chain of British posts in South Carolina, located on this Indian mound, besieged April 25th through 23rd, 1781, by use of Maham's Tower. Francis Marion forced the British to surrender and secured for his men badly needed ammunitions and supplies. And this was erected here, 1950, this stone marker here. Here's an old drawing from the site coming from the Revolutionary War times. Here is that large log tower that was built with the fire, maybe at the top of it here, kind of a lookout tower, signal tower maybe. And here is the fort on top of the mound, a good lookout. In this drawing here, coming from what, about 230 years ago? Probably a little exaggerated here. Here is a plaque that sits on the walkway here that commemorates the stuff that went on during the Revolutionary War period, about 240 years ago. Here is Colonel Henry Lee, and this is General Marion right down here. One thing I've come to learn about the mound builders, they were looking at the sun on important days, just like the Egyptians were. And on the setting sun of the winter solstice, were they observing that sunset across the way here? Well, I wonder about that. But the way that mound is set up, they might have been observing the setting sun here in the southwest sky on December 21st. That's just a thought. Not much on the artifacts coming from this site, but here are a few projectile points coming from the nearby area here. I will also leave this article below. Here is a gentleman with many artifacts here found in the immediate area. Here are some pretty impressive stone tools. indication of a civilization here going back maybe 1,000, 2,000 years. The story here just isn't set in stone as far as an exact date. I also found this. Here is a bear effigy pipe. They would stick a reed in the end here. They had replaceable stems for their pipes, so they were pretty efficient. Here's that pipe from a different angle, but these were definitely used in ceremonial purposes, and the bear often was associated with the shaman of the village. I think the smoke rising up out of these had some significance to afterlife rituals. But as far as putting a name on this culture, well, these are the exact same things found in Ohio, Illinois, Indiana, other places. I think there was one culture just spread all the way across ancient America, and certain archaeological people put specific names on these people and relating it to certain things in their specific area. But I think this was all one culture. Nearby is the old Santee Canal State Park. They have a museum here. Mastodon bones were found in the waterway here. These megafauna went extinct about 12,500 years ago, I believe. All these sites are different. This is kind of unique because there's just one main mound down here. There's evidence of some earthworks, I guess, in the area, and I did show you those mounds back in the woods somewhere in this general area. That is the Santee Mound site in South Carolina. I want to thank some subs for sending me in some messages on that site. Evidence of an ancient village around here, but that mound really all we have left to check out. Once again, I might have a little announcement coming up in 7-8 weeks. I also want to thank some people who want to interview me, put me out there, have me discuss my Shroud of Turin research, including one group that wants to have me on a Zoom discussion. Have some theologians on there, some real experts. Well, nothing would make me happier. I'd love to do that, no problem at all. If you're confident in what you put out, you'll definitely back up your research. If you believe in it, hope you thought that was cool. And you all have a very nice day.